Hello everyone, this is Bodhi and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different in the meantime before I get another video out playing survival, because I have some plans for one, but it's going to be a couple of days before that happens, so I decided to do something fun and switch it up with just a simple tier list. Now, I've been seeing a lot of people doing this on YouTube for the new 1.17 changes, and I was definitely inspired by Mumbo Jumbo. I'm sure a lot of you watch him. I saw him do a tier list on the changes in 1.17, and I thought that it would be a lot of fun, and I might be a little bit late to the party, but I really want to try it out, so let's go ahead and get this thing started. Okay, so the announcement for 1.17 got us looking at already a bunch of new changes, and these might not even be all of them, because all we got was a preview. Nothing specific, none of these have specific names. Well, some of them do, but not all of them. And so this is just the beginning, and I'm really excited for this because Mojang honestly has not failed with the past few updates, and I think they're going to do a really good job on this one because there's just so many new features, and the Minecraft community is really happy with what's going on here, and so am I, honestly. So a fair warning, a lot of these might end up in the highest tiers because honestly a lot of them look really amazing. So let's just go ahead and start placing these on. And the first one here is actually going to be the mountains. And right off the bat, I'm gonna have to probably put these in the highest tier because I don't know if you guys have seen the images for the mountains. I might be able to put some up on the screen now, but they look absolutely fantastic. And let me go ahead and get an item frame. Like, they look like the custom mountains that people would build on their creative or survival worlds, and they're actually just really well done, and I think that it'll be a really cool addition to Minecraft terrain generations, because the mountains that we have now, there's nothing wrong with them, but they don't look like actual, like, snowy, like, really high altitude mountains, or if they do, they don't have, like, really amazing shapes to them or anything like that, but these ones in the images that they showed off looked absolutely awesome. So S tier for that. If I could put it above S tier, I would, but I'll already have to put that at the highest tier. And with the mountains came the goats. Now the goats are a really cool mob, definitely probably my favorite mob that we've seen in this update. They look really funny and cute at the same time, and honestly, they could be kind of fun to mess with other players as well. So, yeah, I'm gonna be putting these in the S tier as well, because based on the video of them, like, knocking other animals out of their area, and just charging, and also just, like, grazing on the mountains, they look absolutely fantastic, and a completely new model for mobs. It's really, really cool. So I'm gonna have to put those in the S tier as well. Let's see, next up we have powder snow, or some people were referring it to snowy or snow, but basically this is something that looks like normal snow layers, but mobs and players will fall through it if they step on it. Now, to be honest, nothing about this has me like super duper excited. It's definitely a cool concept. It could make for some pretty fun traps on other players and stuff like that. But besides that, I don't see like anything super amazing about it, so I'm not gonna put it too low, but I'll go ahead and drop that in the B tier because I mean it seems decent to me. It's not super boring, but it's not S tier quality, so that's where I'm gonna put the powder snow. And let's see, next up we got lush caves. Now this, on the other hand, this is gonna be pretty high on my list because the images and the videos that they released of the lush caves already looked super cool. There's vines dangling from the ceilings, there's new types of grass on the ground, there's types of flowers and plants, just vegetation growing inside the caves. And I think that's a much needed addition to the caves that previously looked exactly the same wherever you went. There might be some water or lava, there might be some ores, but that's about it. And basically the same generation over and over again. So let's go ahead and drop that in the S tier as well, because those looked fantastic. And next on our list is the moss. Now, the moss, I saw this in Mumbo's video called the grass carpet, but I found out that there was also a block of moss, not just a layer of moss. The block of moss is probably nothing special. It looks pretty similar to just a grass block. Maybe you could mix it in for some texturing, so that's kind of cool. But what has me really excited is the layers of moss, or the grass carpets, or whatever you want to call them, because one of the problems I see all the time is you have a big area of grass, like a plains area or something, and you want to light it up to prevent mob spawning, but you can't do that without spamming torches absolutely everywhere and making it look pretty ugly compared to how it is without them. So with the carpets, or the layers of moss, that means that we can provide non-spawnable blocks in the layers themselves, or even hide lighting underneath them. So for that reason, I'm putting it in the S tier as well. Yeah, guys, there's probably going to be a lot of S tiers here because these features look absolutely ridiculous. I love them. Alright, so next up, we've got Glowberries, and if you guys didn't see these, basically what they are, they're like sort of vines that grow down from the ceiling, and on them, these berries grow that emit light. And I think that's pretty interesting because, I mean, it's sort of a light source that both, like, grows and expands. I mean, of course, we have the shroom light that grows on the nether trees, but this is sort of a unique concept that we haven't really seen before. That being said, it's not like the craziest game mechanic ever, so I'm not gonna put it in the S tier, but I still think that it's a cool concept, so let's add something to the A tier for the first time. And there we go. Alright, so let's see. Next up, spore blossoms. Now, these are sort of like little flowers that sprout up on the, I think it was the roofs of the lush caves, but perhaps they're also on the floors of them as well. So let's go ahead and grab these, get some of this out of our inventory. The spore blossoms, to be honest, it's kind of a cool concept, and it's cool that the flower like emits particles and stuff. That was one thing that it did, but besides that, the art as it is didn't look spectacular to me, and it looked a little weird. So maybe it'll get changed a little bit, maybe it'll look cooler, but for now I wasn't like extremely amazed by them. And when you're comparing it to all the other stuff in this update, I think I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Nothing wrong with them, but nothing amazing about them either. So next up, we have the drip leaf plants. Now these have a little bit more interesting functionality to them, because the way the drip leaf plant works is that if you stand on it for long enough, you will fall through it. Now, I'm not sure how this would be used besides to like look cool. Perhaps you could use like it as a staircase in sort of like a jungle area, something like that. But I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a really intriguing concept and probably fun to play around with, but I'm not sure. I don't really see myself using it a whole lot in my builds. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Nothing against them, but I probably myself won't be using them a crazy amount. Alright, so let's see. Next up, we have got, on this row, we have the azaleas. Okay, and now these looked a little bit nicer than the spore blossoms. The azaleas were more like, they actually looked less like flowers and more like a type of bush that flowers grow on. Honestly, it looked pretty nice, and I think that I'm gonna take them and put them one above the spore blossoms, because the textures and such looked a little bit nicer as is, and it's kind of cool because it looked like they grew from saplings. So that's an interesting concept because we've only seen that with trees before. But yeah, I'll go ahead and drop it in the B tier and leave it at that. But okay, next up we have something pretty special, and these are the mega caves. Basically looking like giant ravines underground, with even like underground lakes inside of them, and just much nicer terrain generation that we've seen before, at least based on the pictures that I've seen of the mega caves. These look really cool, and I'm gonna have to drop those in the S tier. There's no doubt about it, because this is sort of like what people 100% wanted with the cave update, and I think that they'll do a really good job with it just based on what we've all seen so far. They look absolutely amazing, so I'm gonna have to put those in the S tier. And then going right along with that is something called local water levels, and what that means is that in these mega caves, or even maybe in the other types of caves, there can be lakes that are at different levels besides sea level. And what we would see most of the time in Minecraft terrain generation is bodies of water would only generate at sea level, And I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, they definitely needed some variation. And I feel like lakes inside of caves are definitely something that the caves really needed, because they needed that variety. I mean, there would sometimes be tiny lakes or little pockets of water or even lava, but there wasn't like full-blown like bodies of water that you could ride boats through, and that's what someone was doing inside the preview. So yeah, that is also gonna go in S tier for me, because oops, I did not mean to rotate that, but for me that goes right along with the mega cave sort of, so it's sort of the same thing. Let me get that back as it was, and let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Okay, so next up we have, I believe, the Dripstone Caves. And for those of you who don't know, the Dripstone Caves are the caves that contain the stalagmites and stalactites. Yeah, that's what they're called. I always get those confused, but anyway, those will be up next. But these are just the caves in general that have those sticking out of the ceilings and the floors, and I think that they look pretty cool. Honestly though, I don't know if they look as cool as the mega caves or the lush caves, so for that reason I'm just gonna drop it in the A tier, because don't get me wrong, it's a cool concept, but I don't know if it's as cool as the S tier ones. Anyway, so next up we have the stuff that comes in the Dripstone Caves, the stalactites and the stalagmites. So first we have the stalactites, and those are the ones that hang down from the ceiling. And for those ones in particular, I don't know what exactly the use will be for them. However, it is kind of cool that they sort of like drip and they're sort of like crystals. So I think that they look pretty cool, but I don't know if they'll have a definite use. So for those, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the B tier, because they look cool, but I don't know exactly what their use will be. Next up, obviously along with it, is the stalagmites. And these ones I'm actually a little bit more excited for, because I had seen in the thing that they might be able to be used for a killing mechanism for like mobs and players. If they fall on them, they take a good amount of damage, it looked like. So I think that these ones will be a lot cooler than the stalactites. I think they'll be have definitely more uses if that's how they work. So that being said, I'll put those a tier up in the A tier, and let's make sure those are facing up. Yeah, so those are the ones sticking out of the ground. Anyway, next up we got something completely different. We got the skulk growths. Now, what these are the if you haven't seen them, they're sort of like a dark area in the deepest parts of caves, with sort of like grounds and floors that are made of some like skulk floors. I don't exactly know how to describe them, but it's like really dark blackish bluish blocks on the floor, and the generation looks pretty cool on its own. So I think that I'm gonna go ahead and place those in the A tier as is, because the skulk growths definitely have me a little bit excited. So I'm gonna drop those in the A tier. Now, in my opinion, it's all about what the skulk growths bring to the table, and as part of what generates inside of them. And one of these things, oops, looks like I spelled it a little bit wrong with a K instead of a C. My bad. Anyway, these are the skulk sensors, and these will be found inside of the skulk growths, it looks like. And what these do are provide a first way in Minecraft vanilla of wireless redstone. I mean, there's lots of ways of transporting redstone inputs, but this functions around sound, which is something that redstone has not really touched yet. And me, myself, I'm not a huge redstoner, but the idea is still really intriguing, so I'm gonna go ahead and place that in the S tier, because it still seems amazing. Like, I don't design tons of contraptions or anything like that, but I still see myself using these and being amazed by what they can do. Now, next up, from the skulk growths as well, the warden mob will spawn in here, and I wasn't able to find a warden head. This is just a wither skeleton, which obviously looks nothing like it, but I decided to just use it. Anyway, the warden mob looks very interesting, and it also functions based off of sound the same way skulk sensors do. It is attracted to sounds that it hears, so if you were to throw something in a different part of the cave, it would go towards that instead of you, whereas you can get by just sneaking along and not making any noise. Now, It looks really cool. It looks a good amount different than any other mob we've seen in the game. So that's really interesting because it doesn't look like any other vanilla mob. Like it has a really unique feel to it. And so I think it looks really cool. I'm not exactly sure what it'll drop, what it'll do, besides the whole sound thing. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it an A, but it's possible that this will end up being an S tier thing because it looks really cool. I just don't know what the use for the mob will be. And next up is something that you could actually see right behind the warden in the preview, and this is marble, and it sort of looks like kind of stone brick, kind of like andesite, something like that. It's sort of just another textured stone in the gray scale, and I really like using those blocks in those types of blocks in my buildings and stuff like that. So I think that another block of this category that doesn't look too much like any of the ones we already have will be a great addition. So for that reason, even though it's just a simple block, I'm actually gonna drop it in the I want to say S tier, but I guess it doesn't really compare to all of this stuff, does it? Well, you know what? We'll put it in the A tier since it's really just a building block. Let's put that right here. Although I am excited about it. Next up, we have candles, and these could be seen also right by the warden in the sort of darker skulk growth caves. I think that's what it was. And the candles are something interesting because we're always excited to have new light sources. I really think that there could be a lot more light sources in Minecraft because, I mean, there's a good amount, but there's not always a good one to use in every single situation. So candles will be really cool for medieval builds, stuff like that, and I'm excited to try them out. And so candles, once again, nothing groundbreaking, just another light source, but I think it's really cool, so I'm going to drop that in the A tier as well. All right, let's see what's next. Anyway, oh yeah, of course, Amethyst Geodes. I felt like the purple terracotta went pretty well with that. Amethyst Geodes and Amethyst Crystals sort of go together. The way that it works for anyone who hasn't seen it is that the crystals will grow inside of the geodes, and what the geodes are these little parts that spawn or generate inside of caves, and that part of the cave will be surrounded in these blocks called Amethyst Geodes, and you can't collect Amethyst Geodes or move them. So if you want to farm the crystals, it's location based. You have to stay in that area. Now, I think that's a cool mechanic. There's not enough of that type of stuff in the game, and the caves themselves looked really beautiful. So I'm gonna put the geodes themselves in the S tier because they're awesome looking. Now the crystals, on the other hand, are also really cool to go along with it, but we don't know what they're used for yet. If it's just, I mean, every valuable resource is only valuable if it has something useful to do with it, right? So if something else comes out about it, then great, but for now, I'm not exactly sure what it'll be used for, so I think I'm just gonna drop that in the B category. Nothing wrong with it, but like I said, I'm not sure what it'll be used for. So moving on from that, next up we have the telescope, and this is where it gets a little controversial, I think, because as many of you know, and many of you probably do, use Optifine yourself. Optifine is one of the most common mods that people use on their client. I'm actually using it right now, as you can see from my video settings. It's just, honestly, once you get used to Optifine, it's hard to live without, and Optifine provides its own zoom feature. Telescope will provide a zoom feature, but honestly, less intense, or it gives a vignette around it that will make it harder to see the area around it. So it's basically like the Optifine zoom, but sort of nerfed a little bit. And that's where it gets difficult for me, because you might say that Optifine isn't a part of the vanilla game, so that you can't really judge it based on that. But at the same time, so many players use Optifine, and like, I really can't see myself going without it. I don't want to see the zoom feature removed, and I feel like, I don't know if this was really necessary because Optifine already provides that. But that being said, I'll try not to judge it based off of Optifine. So I think it's still something interesting that probably should be in the, that probably has a place in the game. Even though I prefer Optifine, but we'll see if it has any other uses to it besides that, and like what you craft it out of, stuff like that. But for now, I'll put it in the A tier. It's a good concept, it's just I'm not sure how useful it'll be to the Minecraft community in general. But besides that, telescopes, next up is copper. And copper is really interesting because it's an ore that generates just like all the other ones, like coal or iron. Not sure what the exact details of how it generates are, but the cool thing about it is that it can be crafted into blocks which have slabs and stairs variants. That's something that you don't really see with ore blocks, except for like maybe quartz. So that's pretty cool for building. The art or the textures for the copper blocks, to me, didn't look that refined yet. They didn't look that nice yet, so I'm sure that those will get changed because right now it's all just programmer art, sort of beta phase. But the most interesting thing about copper is how it shows age. It will turn from the orange golden color to a sort of aquamarine color as it decays. Not even decays, but just sits in the world long enough. So if you use it to build with, it'll eventually transform from that. And I feel like they could optimize this a little bit better. Like maybe some of it doesn't turn all the way to aquamarine, some of it stays, but like, because the turning of it all the way to that color sort of just turns it into what looks like mostly a prismarine roof. So that's sort of just how I feel about it, but the concept itself and the fact that it can be used for building is definitely really cool. So even though I'm not going to put it in the S tier, I think I am going to put it in the A tier because it's still really awesome. I'm going to be honest, but it just, for me, it's not in the S tier quite yet. Next from that is something that you can actually use copper for, and this is actually cooler than copper itself, in my opinion. The lightning rod. This thing sounds really, really awesome because previously in Minecraft, the only way you could control where lightning went is by using a channeling trident, and those things are not something that you can get your hands on early game at all. They take a long time to get a trident, and it takes a long time to get the enchantments, so once you have one of those, it's OP, but without it, lightning is sort of just does whatever it wants, and with this, you can control where it strikes. So I think that the better use for this, rather than for striking mobs with lightning, is that it will probably be used for drawing lightning away from things like villagers or animals that you don't want to see get harmed by the lightning. And I think that that's a cool concept because it would definitely be interesting to steer the lightning away from, to keep it, to make it not as dangerous. So I'm going to put that in the S tier. It's really interesting. Sounds very cool to me. Alright, past the lightning rod, we have next the bundles. Ooh, this is where this gets really interesting because the bundles, obviously, probably one of the most requested updates outside of the cave update from the community was an inventory update. I know that I really wanted to see one, and I don't know if this quite cuts it for what an inventory update would be. Definitely needs some more work, but that being said, this does provide a good, like, baseline for what an inventory update might look like, because it still feels like, mostly vanilla, they look pretty cool, and the bundles, what they do is they can carry up to a stack, but of any type of item in them. So you could put, you could stack, like, quartz together with quartz stairs, and then you could have all of that stuff inside of a bundle to better maximize your inventory space. So I think that those, even though it's not like completely groundbreaking, I think it still belongs in the S tier because the Minecraft community has asked for a better way to manage the inventory, and this sort of gave us one. So I really appreciate that. I think it's going to be cool for inventory management. After that, we have Archaeology, and Archaeology I sort of grouped two into one here because the Archaeology sort of contains the brush and also the archaeological dig sites. And the archaeological dig sites are something that spawn or generate in the world, similar to like a village or something like that. And what you can do with those is you can brush off pieces of like dirt, gravel, stone, whatever, to find certain valuables in them, inside of them. And that seems really interesting because it provides an early game way of getting valuables without going on a branch mining session. And I don't know if I'll use it instead of that, but it's still a very interesting concept. So for that reason, Archaeology is also going to have to go in the S tier. Tons of S tiers. The Mojang is really doing a good job here, I gotta say. So let's put that away, and the next part, which sort of goes along with this, is ceramics. And the reason for that is you can find ceramic shards from dig sites, and then you can use the ceramic shards to make clay pots. And you can use different types of ceramic shards to have different paintings or designs on the pots. And so it's a cool, unique piece of decoration, sort of like a painting is, or like an item frame, and I think it'll just be a cool thing that will fit into some cool build styles. So ceramics, I don't know if it's as cool as the archaeology itself, so I'm gonna put it in A tier, but A, it's still pretty cool that you can like paint designs on these pots. That's gonna be amazing. And this, I think you all know where this is going. Everybody loves these, and honestly, we've been waiting for these for a while. Like, there was talk about them back in 1.13 in the Aquatic update, and the fact that they're finally putting them in now is really amazing, and I think they're going to be really well done, because they're sort of just like an ocean mob that can be your pet, and there wasn't really a way of having one of those. I mean, you could have like fish tanks or whatever, but these guys will actually, from what it looks like, follow you around and help you defeat hostile underwater mobs. So that's amazing. These guys also look really cool, really cute, so I'm gonna have to put them in the S tier as well. And yeah, no way these guys aren't going in the S tier. The axolotl, and also that name is really cool. I mean, I know it's a I believe it's a real life aquatic fish or creature. I'm not sure about that, but I honestly don't even know. But it's a really cool sounding name, and it's a really cool looking creature. So that brings us on to the actual last creature in today's episode, and this is the glow squid. So the glow squids, personally, here's the problem. Here's my problem here. I actually I wasn't able to watch the whole entirety of Minecraft Live, so I did not vote myself on the glow squids, but there really doesn't seem to be anything special about them, and I know some people in the community are passionate about them, and others absolutely hate them and don't understand why people voted for them. And personally, I can understand why people voted for them, but I don't think that they're gonna bring anything new to the table. Like, sure, it's a living light source, that's cool, but given the other options, probably the Isolager would have been cooler. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not fit to judge, because we don't know what the other mobs would have done, and we don't even know what the glow squid is gonna do in its entirety yet. But just based on the first impression, I don't think it's gonna be super amazing. And just based on that, this is gonna be our first E tier, and because I just felt like it was an opportunity sort of wasted. No offense to the glow squids, I'm sure they'll look really cool, but once again, opportunity probably wasted. Okay, guys, well, that's just about everything. We got everything put on the board from that board, and don't get me wrong, I probably missed a few features, and there was a few things that I felt could be grouped together or didn't even need to be in it at all, because they weren't really like massive features that added anything new, or maybe I just forgot about them. I based this heavily on Mumbo Jumbo's video of the tier list, so I'll leave a link to that in the description if any of you haven't already checked that out. Because that definitely inspired me to make this. But yeah, as you can see behind us, the tier list does look a little bit unbalanced, I will admit. And ideally it would have been more evenly distributed, because not everything can be amazing. But I mean, hey, it's Minecraft, everything can be amazing. And honestly, this update looks groundbreaking. It looks really cool. I know everyone's wanted a cave update for a while, and they're finally getting it. The cliffs look amazing as well. The mobs they're adding look amazing as well. And the glow squid. And honestly, I just feel like even though it's completely unbalanced here with how they got spread out, they all belong in the A and S tier. All of these belong where they are. But I mean, obviously my opinion is not the law, so if you guys have different opinions, feel free to leave them in the comment section, or even attempt this on your own if you want to just do your own tier list. I'd love to see more of these, because I definitely have different opinions than people I saw make this video, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So I just wanted to give my take on it, because I've been playing Minecraft for a long time, and I trust Mojang with these updates, and I really like seeing what they come up with. And Minecraft is just changing all the time, but it's usually good changes, so I cannot complain. And this is my finished tier list with everything that I wanted to put on it from 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs update. So yeah, guys, that's about it for the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you like this style of video, because I've also seen people do this with like mob farms, or not even mob farms, but general Minecraft farms, or for other stuff in Minecraft. And I mean, I love Minecraft. a lot, so I would be willing to do that for other types of stuff. But hey, maybe this trend is sort of over. Maybe no one's making tier lists for other stuff besides 1.17. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more. I definitely have some more videos planned coming soon, hopefully within the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, guys, I will go ahead and see you in the next video.